Good morning, welcome, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Worldwide Wonder.
Hooray! We're super excited to see you all. What a lovely sight. In fact, we'd love to see more of you. If any of you can turn on your cameras, it'd be lovely to see your smiling faces. Yes, Tina?
Yes, absolutely. Turn on your cameras. Brian, hello, Brian. Michelle, hello, everybody. Where are you calling in from? If it's easy enough for you to put it in the chat. I know on the mobile devices it can be a little hard, but if you're in front of a keyboard, tell us where you're calling in from. And I love that so many of you are on the street already. You are my people. Ready. You are all ready.
Richmond, Massachusetts. Stuttgart, Germany. Brooklyn. Oh, wow. Ontario, Virginia, Richmond, Brooklyn. Montreal. Austin, Glasgow. Hey, Andrew. Baltimore. Look. Hey, it is great. Berlin. Bundagen County. Mullumbimby, Australia. Benny. Benny's going to be leading later in the walk. Hey, Benny. Good to see you, man.
I think Benny is winning right now. Well,
You should be asleep. Benny, you should be asleep. Yeah. Oh, Peekskill, New York. Wonderful. God, we've gone global already, Tina.
Singapore, Nick. Hello. Wow, this is amazing. This is amazing. Should we kick this off, David? Are you ready?
Let's do this thing. Let's have a party.
Well, hello, good morning, bonjour. My name is Tina Roth-Eisenberg. I'm the founder of Creative Mornings and a New York City chapter host. It is my absolute great pleasure to welcome you all to the Worldwide Wonder, our big 24-hour relay of celebrating mornings and creativity around the world with the amazing folks of Street Wisdom.
David. You were going to be Tina. Yeah, hi, I'm David. They call me the founder of Street Wisdom, but I think it found me. And I certainly found Tina in Creative Mornings on my wanders. Tina, you were going to be out in the streets of Brooklyn, but you have a very good reason why not to.
Yeah, I was so excited to surprise you with the most epic New York City backdrop. My friend has a insane rooftop in Brooklyn Heights. It was all planned out. And then this morning, it was literally like, we need an ark. Where's Noah? The world is going. If any one of you is chiming in from the New York City streets, I applaud you, because this morning, this was one of the most epic rainstorms I've experienced in a long time. So just imagine me on the streets. I'm not, but I am welcoming you for Brooklyn, the ancestral land of the Lenape people. And I am really, really grateful that you all made time to be with us here today. I started Creative Mornings exactly 14 years ago here in Brooklyn with the hopes of finding my people, because I moved here and I didn't know anyone. Creative, kind humans who believe in living a courageous and creative life. And boy, did I find you, or actually, I would say we found each other, because today we have a heart-forward community that spans the globe. We're in 224 cities and 67 countries. And the best part is that we get to collaborate with on Totally Bananas projects like this one with the most amazing humans, people like David.
Hey, it's very sweet of you. This idea of tripping over things that find you, that's really the heart of what we're doing in Street Wisdom today. So basically, as Tina said, it's a daisy chain of creativity that unfolds across the world. And we'll be doing workshops. Yes, workshops, that's walking. And in case you didn't know that when you signed up, we will be walking outside. There are some of you who are outside, even in the rain. And we just have to remember that nature, weather is just nature's way of telling us that cities are natural too. And, Street Wisdom was created so that we could find magic, find creativity in the cities. And I think this is a love project between the Creative Mornings and Street Wisdom, because we're looking around the world and thinking, I don't know what you think, but thinking we could be doing better. There are better ways to be living, better ways to be working. So today is a chance for us individually and collectively to exercise our imaginations, yeah? And I just want to say, just to make sure that we can see each other, can you give me a wave? And you gorgeous people out there just to make, yes, it's a highly interactive thing. It's great to see you. Just to say also, Tina, I think we're being joined by audience on YouTube. Is that right?
Yes, I want to send an extra warm welcome to anyone who's tuning in on YouTube. It doesn't matter if you're live on a Zoom with us or just on YouTube. We appreciate you here. If you want, you can also put comments in the YouTube chat. We're going to have it funneled back to us.
Yeah, and actually, if you're watching on YouTube and you love it so much you want to take part, the great thing is you can join anytime in the next 24 hours. We'll be here pretty much the whole time. I'm wearing my pajamas. I hope you appreciate that, even though I'm in London and it's 1:30. I'm trying to get into the spirit of things. This call, by the way, just to be aware, is being recorded. This is going to be a 24-hour recording. It's a beautiful piece of really an artwork that we're doing for posterity, and also to see if we can collect and filter your brilliance. Yeah. And I will just say one thing also about the walking is if you can't walk, or you'd rather not walk, or there is such torrential rain that you really feel you'll drown if you go outside, then just be reassured you can do street wisdom, as we discovered in the pandemic, perfectly well in the confines of your own home. Yeah.
And David, can I just do my Tina Kitty moment for a second? We've been planning this for months and it's actually really happening. I'm quite excited, so I'm having a moment. Anyway, okay, in case you just tuned in, you came a little later. This is the big worldwide wonder brought to you by Creative Mornings and Street Wisdom. We just kicked off a 24-hour bonanza of celebrating mornings and creativity around the world. For the next 24 hours, we will be traveling westwards around the globe until we're pretty much back at the start here in New York, a whole day later. And each session involves a street wisdom-led workshop to get us wandering and wondering. That's really hard to say for a non-native English person, by the way. Anyway, but before we start wandering, we have a special guest that we want to bring on screen. She's a very dear friend of mine and also a very dear friend of David. Her name is Libby Delana. She's an award-winning executive creative director. She's one of the most creative people I know. She's an advocate for female leadership, an aspiring pilot, a fly fisherwoman, a fan of a strong cup of tea, a mom of two small, as tall, smart, kind men. And she's the kind of people that I created Creative Mornings for, somebody who's consistently trying to expand, pushing, her limits, like trying to be curious and creative. And it's such an honor to have Libby here. Also, the reason why she's our first guest is because she started walking in 2011 and hasn't missed a day since, every morning religiously. I would say it's probably her meditation. And she has since walked the circumference of the earth, and she wrote a book about it. All right, Libby, where are you? Are you here?
Hi, Tina. Hi, David. Hi, Worldwide Wander. Good morning.
Libby, it's so good.
Hi.
And of course you're outside.
Oh, yes. Well, I just finished up, I'm finishing up a little walk. I started early this morning, and like you, the rain has rolled in and out while I've been out here, but it's stopped right now. And I apologize if it's pretty windy in my microphone. There's a little bit of weather out, but that's what happens on a walk.
Can you show us what it looks like where you are and where
Sure
you
can.
are? Look at that.
Well, so I've been walking down this beach, which is closed in the summer for the piping plovers, and now it's just opened up again. So I walk up and down the beach, and I walk on the street also. But yeah, today was a beautiful, beautiful morning. The sun peaked just over and then tucked behind the clouds. So yeah.
Libby,
but coming up on 11 years. Yes.
Yeah, it's really about that. It's about, listen, many of us like walking. I can see Brian and Tina and several people out there walking, Cheyenne. But it takes some discipline to walk every day and to get up really early in the morning and walk. It must give you a lot. Tell us about where that comes from. Where does that practice come from, and what does it give you?
Yeah, it's when I look back 11 years ago, quite honestly, life was grand. I was very fortunate, had a lot of things in my life that were absolutely just sparkly and wonderful. And yet one morning I woke up and I realized actually one of the things that makes me who I am, which is being immersed in the outdoors, wasn't integral to my day. It wasn't part of my day. I hadn't built it into my day. And so really the initial thought was, I just need to get up a little bit earlier and go for a walk. No big deal. Doesn't matter the miles, doesn't matter the steps. I'm not a 10,000 step person, although that's great. I just wanted to get outside. And then I committed to doing that for 30 days. And here I am coming up on 11 years later. But what I realized was, as you noted earlier on, that it's become a meditative practice. It is more than simply going for a walk. It is where I learned maybe my most powerful lessons in life, quite honestly. And on those days, David, you noted, where I really don't want to go, you know, that little cute voice in your head that says, you know what, you've done it for 10 years, take a break, relax. It's actually on those days that I've come to learn that that's when I need to go. That's when the biggest opportunity often arises. And so I've done it long enough now to know that that little voice is worth listening to. But honestly, even if I don't go for a very long distance, there's often the most powerful lessons in those walks. So I get up and go anyway. And
That's so
on
beautiful.
those days, I tuck a little chocolate in my pocket, even though it's early in the morning. So
Hey, Libby,
yeah.
I think Sarah is asking if there's a time frame, a minimum walk that you do.
Oh, you know, it's a great question. I'm happy to answer that with data and statistics. I'm actually a numbers person, but what I really want to share to everybody, it doesn't matter how long or what time of day you go. Quite honestly, as far as I'm concerned, you can take a morning walk at 1 p.m. or 6 p.m. It's kind of a mindset more than it is. I happen to, and I'll tell you this, but my practice is just my practice. I think if somebody wants to adopt it, make it your own, make it doable, make it glorious and gorgeous, right? So I get up really early. I'm a morning person. So I'm oddly, if I get up at 5 a.m., I walk for roughly 2 hours. I walk about 8 to 10 miles a day. And I know the privilege that I have to be able to do that. My children are gone. I am able to take that time to do that. So I fully acknowledge that. I am able-bodied. So all those things conspire to my benefit to be able to do that. And I don't take any of it for granted. So again, that's what my practice looks like. I think it takes me a long time to figure shit out. So I walk for a while, but you know, really the invitation is to simply set aside a bit of time. It can be 15 minutes. It can be late afternoon. I think it's the spirit of it, which is setting aside some time for yourself. And for me, I find it sounds maybe sound odd. I actually don't really know what I feel until I start moving. I'm so up in my head that moving my body is how I understand emotions. And so, you know, I guess that's the invitation for everybody is when you add motion to emotion, I think there's a greater understanding. I don't know if it's universal, but for me, when I add a little bit of movement, I think I get more grounded. I understand what my intuitive nature is telling me. So
that makes so much sense. And Libby, you've been inspiring me for like so long now. And I put Libby's Instagram in the chat. It's wonderful. She really takes you along. And sometimes she even goes live when she has like a beautiful walking moment. And those are my favorites. Like I have set an alert that when Libby goes live, I go with her.
And I always love seeing you there. It makes me feel like we're walking together, even if we're not in the same place.
Today, Libby, we are walking together, and we're gonna meet some of the co-walkers now. But just before we do that, can you give us, as we walk together, just one piece of like guidance or advice to get real value out of our walk today?
Oh, it's an interesting question. I find, given that this is Creative Mornings, I actually find these walks, I spent my life as a creative director, I find these walks actually my most powerful creative time. I think, you know, even this morning's palette, I mean, look at that. The colors, the sensual component of being out in the world, the cool breeze, the sounds, the smells, are all data and inputs for problem solving. I think walking can save the world. I think it's our most innovative tool. I think if we keep our eyes open to textures and colors and sounds and other people, especially with this community, creative community, I think it's an incredible place to find inspiration, to find, you know, new ways to think about things, unencumbered by, let's call it, you know, many of the other elements. And now, granted, I know I'm walking in a very, you know, glorious spot. I find the same energy when I'm walking through the streets of Gotham. I find, you know, little pockets of color or a sound, or someone, actually the other day I was in New York City, I was walking down the street and somebody behind me was having this beautiful conversation. And they actually were talking about this concept of enough. And all of a sudden I am now actually obsessed with the concept of enough and what that means in the world. So again, out and being open to all these incredible sensory data points is an incredible toolbox for creativity.
Oh my God, Libby, are you the perfect warm-up for this or what? It's like she's your spokesperson right there. I think we need to move on. Libby, it's such a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you for just gracing us with your presence. I love you.
I love you too. And thank you for having me. And everybody have a great day. You're all walk stars. Go out, have a great walk, and hold on to the notion of being a walk star today. Have a great walk. I'm going to listen in. So,
bye,
okay, bye.
All right. So now I have the pleasure to hand the mic to the remarkable Kyle from our Creative Mornings HQ team, who has literally moved multiple mountains and I think not slept much in the past few days to make this event happen. And he has been a force in the Creative Mornings universe for over 11 years. Kyle, so much love, and mic to you.
Thank you, Tina. Let me get my screen set up here. Good morning to you all. Thank you, Tina, for that introduction. Yeah, I've been a part of Creative Mornings for over 10 years, but I've never been involved in Creative Mornings for 24 consecutive hours. So if you enjoy this experience, enjoy the walk, please come back. If you want to watch me descend into madness, please come back later. Let's stick around for the next 24 hours and keep wandering the world. So thank you so much for tuning in from everywhere. I'm going to be really quick because a lot of you have your running shoes on, you're outside, you're ready to walk. I want to call out Michelle and the Richmond team who's here, who I'm going to talk to in just a minute. They have people gathered in Richmond, Virginia, who are all going to gather and walk together. I see you all. Thank you for being here. What a wonderful experience this all is. So my name is Kyle Baptista. I'm Chief Community Officer at Creative Mornings at our Creative Mornings HQ. And I'm so happy to see so many of you this morning. And a special secret handshake good morning to some of our organizers who I see in this Zoom view. It's so good to see you here. I'm based in Toronto, and that's where I'm calling in from. It's 13 degrees, which is probably about like 55. It's crisp, it's dewy, it's beautiful. The bright sun is shining on my face, and I'm thrilled. So it's going to be a beautiful day. I have the honor of representing the 44 chapters in this time zone who are here with us today in this first event. And that's everybody from Asheville to Winston-Salem, in the north from Quebec City to the south to Santiago. Thank you all for waking up with us. Thank you for being here. You can see the full list of cities. You can participate in this event again. You can watch the live stream. You can sign up for another walk. All of that you can do at www.theworldwidewander.com. Yeah, and I want to tell you a bit about how Creative Mornings work. So every single month, usually on the last Friday, a crew of hundreds of volunteers wake up early, head to a venue, and start setting up chairs for a free monthly creative lecture. Teams of volunteers in each city work tirelessly to organize the speakers, the volunteers, the coffee, the breakfast, the AV, the venues, the partners, the speaker training, and all other aspects of a great community event. Most importantly, the labor of these volunteers is to make sure that these events are always free. It's a gift. It's an engine of generosity, the way Creative Mornings runs all around the world. And some cities, you'll have an opportunity to pitch an entire room, one of your ideas, or you'll hear a great musician. You'll find fellow collaborators. The most important thing is that you'll be in a room of, you'll be among a diverse group of creative talent from your own city. And if you travel, you can make Creative Mornings part of your itinerary. You can find Creative Mornings events in over 200 cities in nearly 70 countries. And I want to give a special shout out to chapters in this time zone. Here's Amina, our Creative Mornings Atlanta host, opening up an event in I think maybe a spaceship, which is sounds pretty good for venue-wise. We're going to be talking to Amina a bit later because today is Creative Mornings Atlanta's 11th anniversary. Here's some amazing live music in Asheville, and I don't think there's a better way to start your day than with brass instruments. You can always expect coffee and breakfast at Creative Mornings events, like here in Charleston. And up in Ottawa, you never know who you'll meet, a collaborator, a colleague, possibly someone to go on a date with. This photo is from Ottawa's 10th anniversary. So that's a bit about what you can expect from the next Creative Mornings event in your city. If you don't have a local chapter, or if you see that volunteer position is up for grabs, here's what you do. You go to creativemornings.com, you scroll to the bottom, you click Start a Chapter, and you read the instructions to bring Creative Mornings to your own city. But one more thing about Creative Mornings, enough for me. I'm so excited to see Michelle on the call here with her community. I'm going to stop share so we can bring on Michelle and the Richmond team. Michelle, it's so good to see you. How are you?
Very well. Our team has already started to do a little bit of walking. We are at Hollywood Cemetery here in Richmond, Virginia today.
Amazing. That's so cool. How many people do you have gathered here?
We had about 15 people this morning. We had, much more I see their faces online. So it's wonderful to see them.
That's amazing. They haven't made it to you yet, but they're here with us. That's awesome. Can you tell me how you got involved in Creative Mornings?
I went to my first Creative Mornings about 5.5 years ago. And at the end, I ran up to Doug, who started our chapter, and said, I must be involved. And that's how it started.
Tell me about a typical Creative Mornings Richmond event.
I don't think that there are any typical events anymore after all of the pandemic, but through Zoom, through in person, through hybrid, we are really looking back getting back in action right now. So we've got morning hugs, high fives, coffee, breakfast, amazing speakers, amazing community, and people have said, and it's basically like their creative church. Jolinda always said that. And I think that it's true. People gather for the inspiration that they find at Creative Mornings.
I love that. That's beautiful. Is there a piece of feedback you've gotten from an attendee or a speaker in the past that's kind of stuck with you?
That every time that somebody comes to a first Creative Mornings, they said, wow, I didn't know that this existed. What a beautiful way to celebrate the creativity in our communities. So I love hearing that every time. That's
amazing. Michelle, thank you so much for taking the time, organizing an in-person gathering to kick off the day and joining us here on Zoom. Is there a question you're personally going to be pondering during your wander?
I'm going to share the question from Lauren, who is our longest standing team member. She said, is it necessary to have an existential question or not? Is it better to? That was it. Is it better to have an existential question or not? So I love that question. It's almost a little bit inviting us to be here now.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's a perfect kickoff. And if I'm correct, everyone's scattered, so you don't have a group there to show us, right?
I don't, but we will have a picture for you later that you can flash.
Amazing. Tag it with Worldwide Wander.
Will do.
Hashtag influencers. Amazing. Have a great walk. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Amazing. And for all of you walking with Creative Mornings, with your group of people or on your own, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day and being here. David and Tina, it's back to you.
Thank you, Kyle. And thank you, Michelle and Richmond team. It's so lovely to see your faces. All right, David, should I get this going? Are you ready? All right, so are you ready for the workshop? It's time. We're gonna exercise our imaginations. This is the moment we all have been waiting for. So make sure you grab your phone if you're not already on it, grab your shoes, your headphones, your backup battery pack if you need it, and head outside wherever you are in the world. It doesn't matter. If you do stay here, if you don't go outside, we would ask you to turn your video off so we can only see people walking and we can see where they are. But you are in for a massive treat. You're about to experience the magic of street wisdom by no other than David, who's the founder of the organization. And I have personally become fast friends with David over the past few months. And I honestly cannot wait to meet him IRL and awkwardly hug him way too long because we haven't met IRL yet. And I just want to say, I believe in the world, there's two people. There's people who show up to win and to take, and there's people who show up to give and transform. And to me, David is definitely a transformer. And I remember attending the first workshop with David, and it has changed how I perceive the city. I did it here in Brooklyn. So you are really in for a treat. And with that, David, I hand it over to you.
Let me just unmute. So lovely. Thank you so much. Every contact I have with Creative Mornings, that we have with Creative Mornings, you feel this, you feel love. It's basically love, people, which is unusual for British people. We're not used to that. So thank you so much. So I'm speaking to you from London, and Philip and Vanessa and other people from our team are here. We're Street Wisdom, and let's do this thing. Just to say to you, this workshop came from work that I was doing originally with executives who lived and worked in buildings made of glass and steel. And I noticed that when we came out of the buildings into the street, out into the outside world, they sort of left a bit their identities behind and were a bit freer. So we think of the street as the space between our identities. You know, at home you're whoever you are, and at work you're whoever you are, and shopping and so on. But in between we've got this lovely, if you're in the street now, you're in that space between the identities. And the other thing that's great about, I think that, and Libby mentioned it, was this sense of, this is an embodied, you're awakening your embodied intelligence. Yeah, our body is, just in case, just take a look between your chin and the floor, that's your body. Yeah, and a lot of what we do today is stuck in our heads, as Livy said, and in our eyes. Yeah, so this practice will be using all of your senses and all of your body. Here's how it's going to work. It's in three stages, three pieces, three parts. Lisa Schulens, how many parts is it in? How many parts? I'm just checking if Lisa heard me. Lisa, did you hear me? How many parts is it in? She's thinking. It's three. I'm sensing. It's what she meant to say to us. It is in three parts. The first part is what we call a tune-up. It's really tuning in. It's tuning into the environment that's around us, not screening it out the way we often do, but tuning in a little bit like we might log into the internet. And the reason for that is part two, which is the quest. We're going to ask a question. We'd love you to bring to mind a question. Existential. The question was, does it need to be existential? What we recommend is it's not too huge. Why am I on earth? And not too small. Should I have saccharin or sugar? Yeah, but somewhere in the middle, a question that you'd love fresh answers to, because what we're going to be discovering is that when you're tuned in and you ask the world around you, the answers come shooting at you. Answers are everywhere. So we're really turning the outside world into our creative buddy. Yeah, and then the final part is the sharing, where we'll get together and we'll share what popped out at us, what jumped out, and what, if anything, how that is an answer to our question. That's what we'll be doing. 3 parts. Are we ready for the first part? I do believe so. I sense readiness. So Brian Thompson is definitely ready. He's striding, I would say. So whether you're at home or outside, what I'd just love you to do is, if you can, is just stand for a moment. Just stand, come to stillness, and just notice your feet, those lovely feet, yeah, that got you all this way. Just notice your feet and give them a massage from the inside. You can massage your feet from the inside by just maybe rocking a little bit from one foot to the other. Ah, lovely feet. You're using gravity, your first friend. Just give those feet a massage. They are as intelligent as your head, as you're about to see. We're going to allow our feet to be smarter than our head, to take our brains on a journey. Okay, beautiful. Now maybe come back to whatever is still for you, and we're going to do the tune-up. The way we do the tune-up, we do 3 short wanders. 3 short wanders. They'll last about 2-3 minutes, and each time I'm going to give you an instruction. It could be something simple like look for the color red. Something as simple. It's not going to be that, but it could be something as simple. And at the end of those 3 little wanders, we're going to be tuned in and ready to ask our question, because we'll be receiving much more information than we had before. Yeah? So this is super simple because it's fundamental. So are we ready for our first little wander? I do believe so. So what I'm going to ask you to do is go for a little wander. Don't worry about the time. I'll handle the time. you can free yourself from time for once, and it'll be around 2 to 3 minutes, but I'll tell you when we're ready for the next one. So on this first wander, what we'd love you to do is be drawn to what attracts you and notice what doesn't. Be drawn, what I mean by that is be drawn physically towards what attracts you. And remember, you look at little kids. If they're attracted to something, they don't just sit there and think about it. They toddle towards it and put it in their mouth. I'm not suggesting you should do that, but allow yourself to be drawn to what attracts you. Things you see, things you hear, things you feel, things you sense. Use all of your senses. Remember, you're not just we sometimes call the eyes the fascist of the heads, because they think they're in control. But what are you feeling on your skin? What are you hearing? What are you smelling? What are you overhearing? Okay, so let's begin that short wander, the little tune-up wander, and I want you to be drawn to what attracts you, high and low. Remember, you're three-dimensional. You can look down and up. You can go down and up, and notice what doesn't. Be drawn to what attracts you. Notice what doesn't. And when I next speak to you, it'll be 2-3 minutes time. Be time for your next wander. Really enjoy that. Be drawn to what attracts you. Let your body go towards what attracts you or who attracts you. Thank you. Really allow yourself to be drawn, to stop, to turn, to sense. Notice what's flirting with you. The world is actually waving at you, sending you signals and sounds and sights and smells and words, and just allow yourself to be drawn and to wander, not walk. Take another minute. It's beautiful. You're doing great. And those of you who have cameras, it's lovely when you turn it so we can see what you're seeing. That way we're kind of walking with you. That's beautiful. So that's wonderful. You wonderful people. Okay, so ready for the next tune-up. So on the next tune-up walk, what we'd love you to do is to slow right down. That's right, slow right down. What we mean by that is keep walking, keep moving, but when you walk, move your limbs really slowly. It can sometimes help if to think that you're kind of walking through some liquid or some delicious. I like to think of Hellman's mayonnaise or olive oil, virgin olive oil, but imagine a liquid that kind of supports you as you walk. Yeah. When you move your neck, you move it slowly. When you blink slower than you would normally. When you breathe, maybe there's a longer gap between the in-breath and the out-breath. The rest of the world's going to carry on its own sweet speed, yeah? What we want you to do is notice what changes when you choose to slow right down. And when you're going slow, when you think you're going slow, see if you can go even slower, yeah? This is you choosing your tempo. Again, don't worry about the time. I'll tell you when we're ready for the next one. Away you go. Enjoy. You're doing beautifully. You're doing great. Keep going. Really enjoy giving yourself permission to be slow, or really giving yourself permission to change your tempo, and notice what your head thinks about that. It might have some thoughts. Just continue that for another few moments. Yeah, as some of you will find, the universe starts to join in this game, sending you messages like slow right down, Jenny. That's great, in Dallas. So that's really beautiful. Really beautiful. I think this might be the first time we've done a street wisdom on water in a kayak, so that's wonderful. So we're ready now for the third walk, the third little tune-up wander. And what we'd love you to do for this third and final wander of the tune-up is to wander for another few minutes. Again, I'll let you know when the 3 minutes is done. And what we'd love you to do is see the beauty in everything. See the beauty in everything. Actually, it's more than see, isn't it? It's more sense, because it's not just your eyes. It's with all of your senses. Sense the beauty in everything and everyone. And particularly anything that initially you don't think is beautiful. So I can see across the room and I can see a pile of clothes that need attention. And it doesn't look beautiful to me, but I can practice seeing the beauty in that. And if any of you would like an extra little angle on this, take the word gratitude in your mother tongue and wallpaper it. Yeah. Piles of leaves in a corner. Where's the beauty in that? How do you find the beauty in that? And a way is to take the word gratitude, whatever that is in your mother tongue, and wallpaper it to the back of your mind in beautiful colors, and then look out at this day, which is Thursday, I think, for most of us. Look out at this day, the 22nd of September, with that look of gratitude and see how that changes things. So see the beauty in everything. Speak to you again in a few minutes. Wonderful, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. This is great. Just keep going. It's beautiful what we can see. Those of you, we can see what you're seeing, and I think for many of you, you'll find it's actually harder and harder to find something that's not beautiful, which is great. So just keep playing with that. Okay, that's really beautiful. Now, so maybe just bring yourself to whatever stillness is for you, and think back just a few minutes ago. Notice how things are maybe a bit different. You're maybe picking up more information. You're more plugged in, more tuned in, like an orchestra ready to play. Yeah. And now what we're going to do is you're seeing more maybe colors and depths and so on, feeling a bit more connected with the world around you. That's great. Just keep that awareness open. And now let's put it to use. Let's get intentional. And the way we get the universe to play with us is to ask a question on Street Wisdom. So bring to mind a question you'd love fresh answers to. Yeah, it could be, what's next for me? Or show me new ways to do something. Or I love the one, what does David need to know that he doesn't know? You know, that, don't use my name, use your name, you know. How can I make today more unusually amazing? Or how could I do X or Y better? Or, you know, how could I work, think, feel, laugh, love better? We all know there are better ways, and the universe is sending us all sorts of clues all the time if we'd only listen. Yeah. And then what I like to do is when that question comes to mind, and don't sweat it. And if there are any perfectionists on the call who feel like, I've got to get this right, just chill, because this is a technique that you can use, a practice you can use anytime. So just let an idea form in your mind. Let it be something that you'd really value fresh answers to, and you can go for it. Yeah, you could go for a question that is really, there have been some life-changing questions asked on Street Wisdom. Yeah. So just trust yourself and ask a question that you'd really value some fresh answers to, and you'll discover that the environment around you is really willing to help. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do our quest, and the quest is really continuing to wander, but again, let your body guide you. You let your feet guide you. Keep asking the question almost like a mantra, and start to notice what pops out at you. It could be a sight, a sound, an actual object. It could be a snatch of music and a piece of overheard conversation. If you're doing this at home, it's maybe a book or a word or something. It's coming at you. These answers will come at you using all of your senses, and just allow yourself almost to harvest them. And don't worry too much what they mean. It's great. It's great if you're not quite sure what they mean, if they're just flirting with you. Your mind will go crazy, or go nuts, because it needs to know what things mean. But just see if you can let your cerebellum cool down and say, we got this. The feet have got this. The body's got this. My heart has got this. My guts have got this. My body, my intelligent body, my wonderfully intelligent body that Libby was talking about. We got this. We're taking you for a ride. And afterwards, we'll figure out what it all means. So what we'd love you to do, it's now 19 past the hour, at least where we are. What we'd love you to do is, and you will have to be responsible for time if you're wandering off the grid, if you're disconnecting from this. Otherwise, I'll let you know. But in 20 minutes, that's 20 to the hour. I think in America you say 20 of, but basically it's 40 past or 22. We'll get together and we will share what popped out at us collectively, and how that might, if in any way, be an answer to your question. And by the way, if any of you bump into strangers and you fancy asking them, you'll find that not just answers are everywhere, but teachers are everywhere too. So go enjoy, have a wander, be purposefully purposeless, and we'll see you in 20 minutes at the end of your quest. Thank you. And people who've got their cameras on, it'd be wonderful. It's entertaining and intriguing and exciting for us to see where you're walking. And those on YouTube are watching as well. So thank you. Let's see where your imagination takes us. And while you're out there, just a thought. Can you see if you can bring one thing back with you? You don't have to physically bring it. It could be an object. It could be something that pops out at you, but it could just be a memory or an image, sound. But one thing, a sense memory, one thing that you can bring back with you from this creative treasure hunt that might in some way be an answer to your question. Lovely. If you're doing this indoors, again, think of the environment of your home as a landscape that you're seeing for the first time. Answers are everywhere, outside and inside. Play with it. We're about just over halfway through your quest. You're doing great. If your mind wanders, just follow where it's wandering, right? Are you stopping with one answer, or are you curious about the answer behind the answer? Are you lost? If you're lost, are you feeling lost? Who isn't lost? Just enjoy your quest. Quest has got a question in it. Okay, we're in our last Earth minute, but it's amazing how, if you really pay attention, sometimes the insight can come in the last second. So just take another minute, really enjoying your quest. No pressure, but really enjoy this last minute. Fantastic. So let's pause the quest now. Just remember, this is a practice is yours now, so you can do this whenever you like. But for now, let's just pause and enter the third part of the Street Wisdom Workshop, and which is called the sharing, in which we share what popped out at us and what, if anything, in any way it might be an answer to our question. And like I said, it's also great if you're not sure how it's an answer, the way that something's just flirting with you. Some of you, the students of Jung will know he said anything that kind of interests you in that way is your future self seeking to manifest in the present moment. And so you could think of it as your future you speaking back to you. This is great. So what we'd love you to do, if you are near a laptop or you can on your phone, is simply describe the object. We said, let's see if you could come back with an object, or it could be a picture, an image, a thought, a sound, a smell, a bite of a sandwich, whatever it is that pinged for you. See if you could put it in the chat column now. It'd be great to see what objects you brought back as answers, possible answers to your questions. It's asking a little bit, but what popped out at you and how might it be an answer to your question? The wind, says Zania. Beautiful. The wind touched you. Coffee. Casey, lovely. Bumblebees. Seeing such gaudy old architecture that sticks out like a sore thumb. Funny old buildings plastered with fake tiles and turned into a church with a garden. Wow, Piper in Brooklyn. Piper, might you be able to unmute so we could speak to you? Hey, Piper, I see you. I'm just wondering, Piper, we love that description, the gaudy things. Beautiful, there's such wonderful things. How might that be an answer to your question, Piper? Do you mind sharing what your question was?
Yes, excuse the noise. I'm in a very loud, happy city that's waking up now. My question was how do I take care of myself better? And on this walk, I was so drawn to nature, but I was also drawn to really ugly, weird, gaudy buildings that just stuck out that totally were not meant to be, or buildings that had been plastered over or retiled or just odd. So I don't know. I think maybe part of it is working with what you got to make what you're dreaming of I just saw a beautiful building from 1886, and they had put fake tiles on it and turned it into a church, and it was so ugly, but there's something so lovely and charming about it. And I was like, wow, these people really, really wanted to build a church in this space. So I don't know, there's some kind of underlying commitment, and who cares if this looks ugly to the rest of the world, this is what we want. So I don't know, I'm trying to understand, but just funny. I was drawn to nature, but then also ugly things.
Yeah. We love you for that as well, by the way. I personally adore the way you don't quite know. That is creativity, right? Instead of creativity, it's one of those rare phenomena where the teacher and the student live in the same body, right? So we don't really know, but all of the people online have ideas about what it means for Piper, right? So, because we're going, oh, I get it. The tiles mean this. And so anybody want to say what they think, so what do you love about, just maybe raise your hand if you want to say something about what you love about Piper's story. Because it's so great. It's so human. I went out looking for nature. I thought nature, and yet I saw these beautiful buildings clad with tiles that are both beautiful and poignant. But how might it answer the question for Piper about how she's to maintain herself and look after herself? We also might have answers for her. Nadine, Berger, Nadine, what do you love about Piper's question, Piper's story?
I love that she actually had a real question and seemingly having found a real answer. I think it's pretty clear. I think you already answered it, actually. There are things that are maybe also beautiful on the inside and maybe not so beautiful on the outside, but there's something really charming and maybe even healthy about it. I think keep looking. I mean, maybe we shouldn't also be answering her question, because I think it's good to leave it open a little bit and keep wondering and keep thinking about it. But I think you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That's really beautiful. Nadine, thank you, Piper. We love it. It's such an evocative image. Nadine, you said that Piper had a real question. Did you have a question that you were asking as you were walking?
Yeah, I mean, my question really is more the question of what will my next step be? I think that's kind of what will I be good at? That was sort of my very general question. If I may just talk about it briefly, what I was drawn to, I think, was water reflections. It just rained this morning, so there were a lot of puddles, and I think I was drawn to very much anything that had a reflection of the context of the neighborhood, but also myself in it. So that's what I'm pondering about the reflections of me in context, I guess.
It's both the question and the response are so deeply archetypal. I think we're all of us thinking, what's our next step? And the beautiful thing I think about what you're doing is, instead of thinking about it, we're physically stepping. And as Libby says, there's something about moving that lets you know what you think. And we love the fact, I love the fact that there's that reflection quality. Apologies for the pinging, that's me, and someone clever will help me turn notifications off after this, but forgive me, that's my WhatsApp pinging in the background. But Nadine, literature since it began has wanderers looking into pools and seeing their own reflection. Something very profound about that. Is there anything, sometimes we sort of have a hunch about what we'd like to do, and a walk like this can kind of confirm or deny that. Is there any element for you about that? Is there any part of you that thinks, gosh, if I flipped a coin, I know what I'd want it to say about my next step?
I don't know. I think that remains hidden still for me, anyways. So no, I don't know.
Okay. What do we love about Nadine's story and about Nadine and how she told it? Marshall, can you unmute?
Greetings. I just joined, so I missed the story.
Oh, okay, Marshall. Well, maybe you can join us for the next,
yes,
for the next walk.
It's
great you're here.
For my next time zone.
And you look ready for a walk, which is great. Cheyenne has a hand up. I just wanted to say, Cheyenne, did you have a thought?
Hi.
Hey,
yes,
Cheyenne.
I gathered like so many things on my walk, so I can barely hold my phone anymore. Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking the same thing, like just when it comes to work, and, you know, trying to insert meaning in life. And does it always need to come from work? I think I've also been thinking, like, maybe how can I get better involved in my community? You know, maybe work can just be work sometimes. And yeah, I passed an old person's home, which I wanted to get involved more with elderly people. I think that's important. And I passed by a community garden, which was really inspiring. But yeah, I think sometimes, like, when it comes to next steps, sometimes we can make it like a big question that's a little bit unapproachable. And then other times it can be like small steps, like just getting involved where you can on like a community level. But I don't know what your question was in terms of like next steps, if it was like job related or family related. But yeah, I think sometimes it's good to think small.
No, and that's beautiful. And Cheyenne, the question was really about what did Nadine's story spark in you? And it did spark in you this next steps. You both are looking for next steps. We're intrigued by what you've got under your arm and the objects that you've picked up. Well, show us some of the things, or one of the things that you found on your trip.
I found some picture frames, which I've been looking for actually. These picture frames, and then I also found, I don't know what these are. You can tell me if they're edible. I probably won't eat them no matter what, but I found these like purple snap peas and these beautiful flowers. If anyone knows what that is, would love to know.
That's deeply poetic. I don't know whether there's any horticulturist on that can tell Cheyenne whether she can eat them and they will make her healthy, or that they will be the last thing she eats. I'm not sure. But it's what do we love about that? Empty frame and seeds. Anybody? Because when people tell their stories, have you noticed it's almost like we're walking with them in their shoes, and it has an effect on us as well, right? It's like, empty frames. It's for us as well. Yeah. So what does empty frames mean? Anyone can unmute, by the way, and just, or rather raise your hand and we'll unmute you if the empty frame spoke to you at all. So when we do street wisdom, we are walking through a symbolic landscape. We're learning again to read the world symbolically. And remember, we do that for 8 hours a night, or at least, I'm not sure how much sleep we get, but the dream time, we speak that language. And so when we're out there doing street wisdom, we're speaking a language we know, but we don't often use when we're awake. I love Cheyenne saying that you must take small steps, and at the same time, in those small steps, she's managed to pick up so much. And I get from Cheyenne a kind of, I had a question for you, Cheyenne, which is, how much do you wander? You look like somebody, and forgive me, but I may be wrong, but you look somebody who gets a lot done. Am I right?
Oh, I love that you think that about me, and that is my first impression. I guess it's all relative. I don't know. I don't think so. No, but I definitely put a lot of excitement into this walk. So I think that's why I got a lot done, because I just went into it with a lot of excitement.
And before we leave you, just wanted to ask, in the tune-ups, how was that for you? And indeed, other people can put their answers in the chat. You know, easy, difficult. Which was the one that maybe spoke to you most or gave you the most sort of effect?
Definitely the slowing down. I think the other weekend I kind of did the same exercise, just slowing down and looking at things. And it just like completely regulates your body. And I think kind of primes you for the rest of the walk. Beautiful.
Beautiful. And did anybody on the call find it awkward to slow down, or feel like when they slowed down, they looked odd? If anyone did, yeah, Piper's nodding. Particularly if you're in a city street, and if you slow down, it can be, you can start feeling like, what are they thinking about me? Just bear in mind, you don't know what anyone's thinking about you ever, right? Unless you ask them. And then sometimes they don't even know. But as the Buddhists say, there's nothing coming from the other side. So very often, just want you to think about that we set our tempo based on what we think other people expect of us. Like, what is the regular rhythm? What is the tempo I should be walking along this street or along this path? And in that way, in a way, the cop is in our heads, not in the street. We are not really necessarily giving ourselves permission to slow down or go fast. There's nothing better about slow than fast. The question is, who's choosing? And what we really wanted to encourage you to do there is to remember you can choose at any time your tempo. You can choose your tempo. That's up to you. This is beautiful. You're the best group we've worked with today. Isn't that right, Tina? I would say so. You're the only group, but you're definitely the best. And before we leave you and hand the baton to walk number 2, just a couple of things to mention to you. Just to remind you, this is your practice now. If you want to deepen the practice, you can go to our website, streetwisdom.org. There are books and so on and so forth. But I just want you to recognize a couple of things. One is that you didn't just walk through the street or the park or the recreation ground. You just walked through you. You just walked through you as a way of thinking about it. Because if two people walk down the same street, they have very different experiences. So the selections you made are you looking back at you in a way. This is a way of, in a way, finding out, as Libby was saying, what you think, what your conscious mind, finding out what your unconscious mind thinks. So the things that are waving back at you are you giving a message back to yourself. You might want to think about that. And also think about the idea the street doesn't end at the street. It's true that it's easier maybe to activate this creative, questing, curious part of ourselves when we're in a foreign town or out and about. But remember, you can bring that curiosity and creativity back home, into work. And in a way, I think we need to, we need to bring that creativity, as Creative Mornings absolutely does, is bring that into daily life. In a world that is in the state that it's in, and it needs us to continue to be creative, continue to nurture our creativity, give ourselves permission to imagine better futures. Thank you so much. It's been a joy working with you. It didn't feel like work, but in a way, this is the new work. Tina, I'm going to hand back to you, and maybe you've got some words of thanks or a way to put a bow around this.
I just love seeing you step into your magic powers and get it out of everyone. I mean, everyone showed up here and brought out the magic, but it needs a wizard like you, David, to set the stage. So thank you so much. I must say, Heather, I've been on a few street wisdoms, but you really took it to the next level with your kayak. I have so much respect. If I had a trophy, I would hand you one right now. That was unbelievable. And Cheyenne, what an amazing symbol that you found empty frames. That to me is also super beautiful. We need to wrap up because the next session is starting soon, but we just want to say one thing. If you maybe pop one word into the chat, what you got out of today? What comes to mind for those of you who are wandering or watching? And if you want to share more, if you feel moved to share more with us than just one word, there's going to be a link in the chat where you can tell your story. And if you like today's event, you can share it on socials. There's a hashtag in the chat as well that we're sharing. But most of all, tell your friends. If you like this and you think you have a friend who will get a kick out of it, and tell them to come to the worldwidewander.com. You can still sign up and tune in for the next 24 hours, or now it's 22 and a half. The next session will start in a few minutes. And you can either log off or stay on. If you want to do another one, you're welcome. And but we just want to thank you. Thank you for being here and for making time and really being present with us. That's a real gift in today's world. And I think both David and I just want to say, keep wandering.